There we go.
You are listening to the default audio track, which includes instructional narrative. To turn off this audio track, simply press the audio button on your DVD remote. To turn off the music, press the audio button again, and you'll just be listening to the sounds of the ride. Syncing up the audio with video. Credits ending now. Welcome to the 4th edition of Training to Climb. This is Rising Above Expectation, and we'll be climbing up Gibraltar Road to a total elevation of roughly 4,000 feet above sea level. We're here in Santa Barbara, just along the Pacific Coast Highway, and we're going to turn into town and start our ascent from there slowly. This is a nice warm-up here, and we'll go a little bit over the training tools on the screen so you can dial in the ride a little bit better. We've got about a half an hour where we're going to be warming up for the big climb ahead. So I'm lucky enough to have along a guest today. Her name is Fran. She's an active cyclist and works in the cycling industry. And I sent out several requests for help with this training narrative, and I was surprised by the number of guests, or the number of people who wanted to help guest with the project. I had spin instructors, cycling coaches, and other avid cyclists willing to help. But I met Fran, and her and I had a lengthy conversation about her experiences about cycling and about life, and found myself completely engaged in conversation. We only had a short time to talk, but I wanted our conversation to go longer, so I invited her on this ride today. Hi, Fran.
Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. So cycling is a very mental sport, and it's as much mental as it is physical. And once you push yourself beyond what you expect of yourself, you feel like you can pretty much accomplish anything. And so that's why, hence the title here, Rising Above Expectation. This is one of those hill climbs that you may not really ever expect to complete on your own without SAG support. And we're hopping off the road, and we're going to get on the bike trail here. The beach is on our right. This is pretty much a nice steady downhill, and we're taking it real easy. We're going to warm up nice and slowly. Now I'd like to introduce you a little bit to the training graphics on the screen, in case you've never used one of these before, or one of these videos. The most important thing is right on the left side of the screen, you see the 54%. That's our maximum heart rate as a percent of max. If you know your heart rate zones, as you can convert from beats per minute to percent, that's fine. Some heart rate monitors will do this for you. We don't use beats per minute on here because everybody's maximum heart rate is a little bit different, and some of you guys might not be able to match my max might be too high for some, and my max might be too low for others. So we use a percentage of maximum, which is simply your current heart rate divided by your maximum heart rate. 54%, you should be barely feeling anything. But don't worry, that number will go up. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see two colored graphs, an upper and a lower. And the upper graph is actually showing us our hill profile. And you can see that right now it's pretty flat. There's not much going on. In about a half an hour or so, the grade increases, and we'll start really getting our workout. Below that that hill profile is our heart rate profile, and right now you can see that the black line, which is traversing both graphs, you can see it's just before the line turns green. And we'll be just steadily increasing our effort. So we try not to hit this guy. Yeah, right now we're taking it real easy. On the bottom left, you'll see 0 RPM. That's our cadence. We're just coasting through here, trying to be safe. And every once in a while, we're going to pedal and get our speed up. That'll probably be a more important tool once we actually hit the climb, trying to match your cadence and the resistance. Might be a little tricky, so I'd probably focus a little bit more on cadence once we hit the climbs. On the right, you'll see a little graphic that shows us what our gear ratio is. And what I want to focus on right now is just simply the resistance value, which is the very lowest number. Right now indicating a 3, now a 2. And this is basically on a scale of 1 to 10 how much resistance we should have on our trainer. A 3 being a fairly easy, low resistance pedal. And a 5 is going to be, or not a 5, a 10 out of 10 is a low cadence, high resistance, out of the saddle, or just really working your legs hard. Every once in a while, a graphic will pop up on the screen of a water bottle, which is just a reminder to take a drink of water. It's important that while we're doing this, we don't dehydrate, because we'll be sweating buckets. And many times people will fail to drink enough water, and they only drink when they feel thirsty. And when that starts happening, then you're already kind of in a position where you're going to have a hard time recovering. You don't want to feel dehydrated at all. Speaking of which, so right now our heart rate's at 60% of max. We're still in zone 1. You can kind of tell by the heart rate profile down below that basically zone 1 is green. Zone 2 to 3 would be yellow. And zone 3 to 4 is red, meaning that when we start hitting those red sections, or bright orange, our heart rate is in the high 80s, low 90s. And coming up to a stop sign. Here's our little overview map showing us where we've started. Give us an idea, scoping out the route, where we're at, and what's to come. So we just came down the Pacific Coast Trail here. And now we're looking dead west towards the Santa Ynez range. We can start adding a little resistance here, make it feel like we're coming off the start, build up our speed a little bit, and then drop our resistance just a little bit. And through town, it's kind of fun to follow the gear changes. Keeping the tempo up right around 90 RPM and slowing it down as we come to the stoplight. These little stoplights are kind of fun for the intervals, interval training. Add some resistance. Let's bring up our speed a little bit. And now we can drop it down. Low resistance, higher cadence. Got a little hill here, so we're going to bring the resistance back up. To a 5, 6 out of 10. We got a little climb here up to the light. And bring it back down. Take a little breather at the light, drink some water. And here we go. So just like you're starting out from a standstill, add a little resistance. Get your speed up. And now we should be looking at our heart rate indicators. We're about 70% of max. Slowly building our efforts up. Add some resistance, bring our speed up. Let's get the bike accelerating. Cadence is about 90. Yeah. Fran, what's your, do you have a beats per minute or percent?
Yeah, I'm at 126 right now, 125.
What does that convert to?
Well, I call it zone 1 for me.
Okay.
Probably very close to that 70-75% of max.
Good. You know that Garmin does percent of max.
I need to learn how to program it better. So many controls on it. I've had to pare it down to what I can easily manage and understand on a ride, but thank you for that tip.
Sure thing. And we're going to do a little track stand here for a little bit. We're not going to be successful.
Not I.
I was going to edit that. Forgot to edit that part out. Oops.
Been working on that for years, I have.
Should also know there's a little delay. There's about a 30-second lag time between. Your heart rate takes about 30 seconds to actually change based on applied effort. So I've tried to synchronize the heart rate with the video. But just keep in mind that if you see a change in gear ratio that's putting you into the red, your effort will probably sync pretty nicely with the effort on the screen, but you just have to give it a few seconds before you see those changes on the screen indicate. So just because you see a lower effort and high gear ratio doesn't mean that you shouldn't start really working, because eventually it'll all catch up. So we're accelerating the bike again. 5 out of 10 on the resistance. You know, we're actually in a little heavier gear here because we're starting to feel a little bit of the grade. Yeah, a little uphill here. It's pretty steady. There's not much more downhill from this point on.
Up we go.
Up. So we're only decelerating for the lights. We'll use this time to get those legs warmed up. Once we hit the harder stuff, if you're not warmed up by the time we get to the harder stuff, it's really hard to get that effort up. So I always keep the legs moving, even if the cadence shows you 0. I like to just soft pedal throughout the whole ride at least. And we add some resistance as we begin our accelerating the bike again. Yeah, Santa Barbara is a really beautiful town. I kind of wish that the day was sunny and bright, but luck would have it that the entire week I was out, it was overcast like this. But it actually turned out, I think, pretty cool.
Maybe a relief for the climb.
Once we get into the clouds, it's very magical, mystical. Really a neat feeling. When I was doing the ride myself, it was a little frightening, because I couldn't see, anything around the next corner, and I kept hearing these strange noises from the mountain. That's just not right.
I was going to say, are we challenged here?
I don't think he's going up to Gibraltar. And add a little bit more resistance. There's our water bottle. And take it down. Come to the stoplight. And back up again. Noisy traffic. And 6 out of 10 on the resistance. Keeping the cadence in the mid-80s. Heart rate is just sub 80. We're still aerobic. We should be feeling a little sweat now. Come back down. And back up. Well, pretty soon we'll be making a right turn, and that's when the climbs really start. So just prepare yourself. Your effort's going to go up, and your legs are going to really be pushing hard on the pedals. Gibraltar is about an average of an 8% grade. There's steeper areas. So if you're not up for it, just stop the video and start it from the beginning again. This part's fun. All right. Start adding some more resistance. 6 out of 10. Pedaling cadence is coming down just a little bit. Now we're big ring up front. Start adding a little more resistance. And a little more. 7 out of 10. A little hill in front of us. Let's get that heart rate up to the mid 80s. And take some resistance off here. And add some resistance. We begin accelerating the bike. Heart rate is still in the low 80s. I hear you shifting over there, Fran. You're staying on it.
Yeah. Pacing myself.
And we're in a nice climbing gear. Climbing gear being one that you can maintain a cadence of around 80 RPM and keeping the heart rate anaerobic. And big ring up front. Let's start this climb. That's the Santa Barbara Mission and Museum right in front of us. And a little bigger gear here. Getting the heart rate up a little higher each time. I love the shot of the birds flying off the... It's cool looking.
It's a very cool building.
Oh,
Never seen that before.
it's crazy. Inside is even more elaborate. Alright, so this is pretty much the official start of the hard part. We're not on Gibraltar Road yet. Watch the gear changes. 6 out of 10 here. You can see the little mini window on the bottom right. Let's take a little effort off our legs. Just a short pause in the action there. It's even noisier when you're there. Okay, back in our climbing gear. Big ring up front. Cadence right around 80. So Fran, when I sent out some emails, and I told you about the project that I'm doing. I'm just curious, what motivated you to help out?
Well, I was curious, actually. At first I thought maybe you'd found the wrong person, hence our little chat on Facebook. And then when we actually spoke, it just sounded like a really fun thing to do. Spoke to a lot of parts of me, a lot of things that I enjoy or have done or all of the above, so we just kept talking and yeah, here I am.
Well, I appreciate it.
I know you told me that we're probably going to head into the clouds, and I told you in our conversation that I was in Hawaii for the first time in October and drove up the volcano there on Maui through a cloud. Sadly I didn't have my bike with me, but it was still a very cool experience. And then we got to the top above the clouds, almost like being in a plane. And as you were describing the ride to me, I was thinking of that drive.
Right.
Of course, I told somebody that story the other day, and they said, "You went to Maui, and you didn't climb Haleakala. I guess I have to go back."
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting my bike out there.
Well, it certainly, once I could see it by car, I wished I had had the opportunity, but for various reasons it wasn't the right vacation or the right trip, so
Yeah.
I'll go back.
All right, descending here. Let our heart rate come down just a little. Soft pedal. So starting out with the basics, here's a dumb question. So where are you from?
Well, sometimes it's hard to tell. I've been here for, 35, 36 years now. I'm losing track, but
Wow.
I am from Yorkshire originally, Yorkshire in England, home of Tommy Simpson and Beryl Burton, for those who can remember that far back. So I lived there till I was 20, and then came over here as a student and didn't intend to stay, but through a course of events I ended up never going back, moving around quite a bit within the States, and then I've been here in Denver almost 30 years.
Wow. When did you start cycling?
I think my father got me my first two-wheeler, if you will, when I was probably 7 or 8. I can remember going to somebody's house one Sunday afternoon and they had a two-wheeler and they couldn't get me off it. I was probably about 7 at the time, so Dad bought me my first little bike then, and then the biggie was he had a girl's frame custom built with drop handlebars, and Father Christmas brought that to me when I was 10. So that was when the time came that Dad and I could start riding together. Because he enjoyed riding. He wasn't too serious, but he'd done his share of cycling around England as a younger man, so he was, I think, really happy and excited, I know he was, that I was showing an interest. So he encouraged me a great deal, and I cycled fairly consistently until probably 14, and when I say consistently, with my father, just around where we lived in Yorkshire, but sucking up all the cycling information that I could get back then, which wasn't much. I remember one day we were on the road called the A1. In those days we called it the Great North Road. It was an original Roman road, and we saw Beryl Burton out training, and that was just so special and so motivating. And at the time, the tender age of 10 or 11, I wanted to be the next Beryl Burton. But by the time I was in my mid-teens, there was just no women to cycle with. It was a very difficult sport to do.
Right.
And I've just found that tennis made more sense for many reasons. So I played tennis quite seriously until after university and coming over here. And then it wasn't until probably 23 or 24 and I brought my bike over from England and quickly realised how old tech it was. So I went out and bought my first decent 10-speed, which was a rally, because I was patriotic, having been to the University of Nottingham. And really that was it, starting in Atlanta when I was about 24.
Wow. What brought you out to the States?
A lark one summer. I came twice. The first summer I came as a 19-year-old student. I came as a nanny for a family in Washington, D.C. And it was actually the summer of Watergate. So it was pretty amazing being in that part of the world when that was going on. And then I did a Greyhound trip around the eastern portion of the US, all the way up to Toronto and down to New Orleans and back to Washington. And I had such a good time, I decided I'd go back and recruit others and come back and see the West Coast. So the following year is when I came over here with 3 others, and we made our way to the West Coast, and that's where the story got interesting.
Oh.
What began as a request for a sabbatical ended up being permanent residency.
Wow.
I just really embraced the culture and just found things to do to make a living and feel as though I was more fulfilled than I had been back in the UK. So that's how it started.
Wow. Now, if you guys out there don't already realize this, Fran and I are both riding. We're both working at about the same efforts as you are. So if you're out of breath, we're out of breath. If you're hurting, well, at least I'm hurting.
Like I said, pacing myself.
Yeah. Big ring up front. So you moved to Colorado, and you're cycling out here, and I'm assuming that you enjoy the mountains. What I guess what my question is what do you excel at on the bike? What's your favorite thing to do? Type of riding?
Well, I think more than anything, I'm probably just an endurance rider in that I'm not much of I'm no sprinter, and I'm a little bit too big to be a particularly good hill climber. But I do love the challenge of a hill, or hills, or mountains. So I would say that's been probably my most favorite aspect of cycling from moving out to Colorado anyway.
And you're lucky enough now to work in the cycling industry.
Yes.
What do you do?
I can't believe my luck.
By the way, we're a 10 out of 10 here on Resistance Fran Shift. We're grinding up this really big, painful climb.
So, I work for a company called Smart E-Tailing. I'm in the
Smart E-Tail.
Smart E-Tailing, as in retailing without the R. And we're a 10-year-old company, and basically we host websites for bicycle retailers throughout North America. We write the content for them, and we help them get the best out of their online presence. So I'm in the client services department and have been for almost 6 years.
Wow.
And talk to bike shops all around North America. So it's very cool.
Do you travel?
Not very much. Only once a year, really. We all go down to Interbike in Vegas in September. I've been up to Madison once for Track World, and in a couple of weeks I'm heading up to Minneapolis, QBP, which is a big wholesale company, wholesaler. They have a winter show for their retailers, so we'll go there and have a presence, but most of it, all of it, except for that, is done from my home, which is wonderful.
That's awesome.
No commuting, no work wardrobe.
You'll be on your trainer and answering the phones at the same time, right?
You know, I could be, but I've never done that. I have to focus a little too hard for that.
Yeah, oh, I have a great office. That's my bike.
Yes, you do. Well, I think I was very lucky to find this. I came back into the work world after a number of years away and stumbled across this job. It was an ad in the back of Velo News, and honestly I really applied just to kind of get practice because I thought it'd be a long road before I could find something.
Right.
And lo and behold, they offered me a job.
We are on Gibraltar Road here, and this basically is going to stay this road all the way to the end at about this kind of grade. You can see from the effort profile that we're going to be up in the high 80s, low 90s for pretty much the duration of this ride. You up for that?
Yep.
And there's a couple of little dips in effort. Usually those dips are as a result of me stopping to check my batteries.
Oh. You mean we don't get a downhill?
So yeah, no. You guys on your trainers, me included, don't get a break. But we should really focus on our effort, that we're not going into the red too much, and we're really pacing ourselves and monitoring our effort here. Because hill climbing is all about pacing. And I try in my best efforts to maintain my effort in the high 80s on a steep climb like this. Here's that first break here. It's not a long one. But in this case, on this hill, there's sections that get so steep you have to really drive up that heart rate in order to keep the bike from tipping over.
Uh-oh, I got the wrong gears.
Being a
You
hill,
didn't tell me that bit.
it's right in front of you. We're in a nice climbing gear here. We're not working too hard, keeping that heart rate down around 83%. Let's recover a little bit. There's my battery change. How to use the dash. The dashboard is composed of a number of different tools that provide data which allow you to emulate the physical demands of the ride. The first and most important tool on the dash is the effort meter. The effort meter provides a graphical representation of how hard you should be working during a specific part of the ride. In this video, we're ascending a small climb while trying to keep a good pace for other riders behind us. Watch how the effort increases as we continue to ascend. The effort meter is color-coded to help you quickly know what zone you should be training in. Each zone is based on a percentage of your maximum effort. Be aware that the difficulty of each video is greatly dependent on the time spent in each zone. At the top of the effort meter is your heart rate goal, displayed as a percentage of your max. Percent of max is calculated as your actual heart rate divided by your max. This value can be used to challenge yourself further by teaching your body how to precisely regulate efforts. Some heart rate monitors allow you to input your max heart rate and then automatically calculate your percentage of max. The gear ratio and resistance indicator provides you with two ways to determine what gear or what resistance you should be working at. The gear ratio is the best way to make changes in resistance if you're on your bike and trainer. With shifters, you can quickly make changes to gearing to simulate changes in pedaling effort. This animation provides an idea of how the gear ratio works. Notice how above the blue line, the numbers are ascending from 1 to 10. This corresponds to the gear that's in your rear cassette. Below the blue line are the 2 rings in the front, 42 being the small ring, 52 being the large. The resistance value is a tool to be used if you're on a spin bike. Most spinners are comfortable with a 1 to 10 scale used in classes. Basically, a 1 is a soft pedaling, easy spin resistance, whereas a 10 is a slow, leg-churning, difficult grind where you have to force the crank arms to turn. The cadence value allows you to identify what your pedaling cadence should be. While the cadence, resistance, and heart rate indicators attempt to synchronize, often it's difficult to match everything at the same time. Start out using either cadence or resistance while matching the effort goals. Much like the effort tool, the power tool provides a graphical representation of how much power the cyclist is producing during a given time. The power tool is a nice alternative or backup to the resistance and gear ratio tools. The dashboard has 3 graphs. These are a really cool way to find out where you're located along the timeline of the ride. The graphs are divided by a bar, showing you where you're located along them. The top graph displays a hill profile. The middle graph displays the effort profile, and the bottom displays the power profile. Keeping your eyes on these are a great way to identify changes as they approach. The moving map provides some nice information about where you're cycling. Roads, topography, landmarks, rivers, lakes, and more can be identified so you don't feel lost on the ride. Also note, north is always up. I'm done. Have a great workout.